What do you want to show? Addie wants to show her little tiger.
She's and even she's a good little girl.
She's a good little girl.
Yeah.
Says Addison. So as long as Addison says she's a good little girl, then she's a good little girl. Alright, so the last story that we read in the 5-minute stories was The Nightingale. I just checked. So today's story would then be Sleeping Beauty.
Sleeping Beauty.
Very nice. I like that. 124. 124. Sleeping Beauty.
I know that we read this before.
Did we?
Yeah, we did.
This exact story, or was it Sleeping Beauty in a different book? Because I know we read Sleeping Beauty in the other book too.
No, we did not.
All right, well, let's just read it. What the heck? We'll just read it. Once upon a time, there lived a king and a queen. Are you listening about the king and the queen?
Yeah.
Okay. Once upon a time, there was a king and a queen.
She's just a little bad.
Oh, she's bad?
No, she's a little bit.
A little bit bad?
Yeah.
When the queen gave birth to a beautiful baby girl, the king and the queen were filled with joy.
Baby?
Yeah, I think so. The king and the queen were filled with joy and decided to hold a christening feast to celebrate. They invited their friends and all the kings, queens, princes, and princesses from all the other kingdoms all over the land.
But first, let me fix her bed.
5 good fairies lived in the kingdom, and the king wanted them to be godmothers.
I'm showing her bed.
That's the bed? Oh, very nice. The king wanted them to be godmothers to his daughter. One of these fairies was very old, and no one had seen her in years or even knew where she was. So when the king sent out invitations to his daughter's christening, he invited only the 4 young fairies. The day of the christening arrived. It was a joyous occasion, and the palace was full of laughter and dancing. After the delicious feast, the 4 good fairies gave the princess their magical gifts. Bending over the crib, the first fairy waved her wand and said, "You shall be kind and considerate."
She's biting the pillow.
Oh, no. The second fairy said, "You shall be beautiful and loving." And the third fairy said, "You shall be clever and thoughtful." The baby girl was promised everything in the world that could be wished for. But as the third fairy finished giving her gift, there was a loud bang, and the palace doors flew open. Oh no, who's coming into the palace?
Oh no, our little lion got into there.
Oh no.
Look at that.
It was the old fairy, and she was furious because she hadn't been invited to the feast. She rushed over to the sleeping baby and waved her wand, casting a curse upon the child. "One day the king's daughter shall prick her finger on a spindle and fall down dead," she screeched. And then she left. The guests fell silent at these terrible words, and the queen burst into tears. The 4th fairy had not yet given her gift. "Dear queen, please do not weep. I cannot undo the curse, but I can soften it," she said. She walked to the crib and waved her wand.
Did she take the baby from her?
No. This is the bad fairy, and she said, "One day the princess will prick her finger on a spindle and fall down dead."
Her?
Yeah, that's her when she grows up. "The princess will prick her finger on a spindle, but then she will not die. Instead, the princess and everyone within the palace and its grounds will fall into a deep sleep that will last for 100 years. Well, that's kind of just like dying. The king thanked the fairy for her kindness, and then, to protect his daughter, ordered that every spindle in the kingdom be burned. The years passed, and the princess grew into a beautiful and kind young woman, just as the fairies had promised. One day, to amuse herself, the princess decided to explore the rooms in the palace that she had never been in before. After a while, she came to a little door at the top of a tall tower. Inside, there was an old woman working at her spindle wheel. The princess didn't know that the woman was really the old fairy in disguise. "What are you doing?" the princess asked curiously. "I'm spinning thread, dear child," replied the woman. "Can I try?" said the princess. No. No sooner had she touched the spindle than she pricked her finger and fell into a deep, deep sleep. It was a trick. A strange quietness came over the palace, and from the gardens to the tallest tower, and the king and queen began to yawn. Before long, every living thing within the castle walls had fallen into a deep, deep sleep. As time passed, a hedge of thorns sprang up around the palace. It grew higher and thicker every year until only the tallest towers could be seen above it. The story of the beautiful princess that lay sleeping within its walls spread throughout the land. She became known as Sleeping Beauty.
Oh, look, I found another thing.
Oh, good. Many princes tried to break through the thorns to rescue Sleeping Beauty, but none were successful. The thorn hedge was too thick.
Let me put it down. Where did we put these?
Exactly 100 years after the princess had fallen asleep, a handsome prince, having heard the story of Sleeping Beauty, decided to try to break the curse and awaken the sleeping princess. The prince didn't know that the fairy's spell was coming to its end. As he pushed against the thick hedge, every thorn turned into a beautiful rose, and a path magically formed to let him pass. Soon the prince came to the palace. Not a sound could be heard anywhere. He saw people and animals asleep in every room. As he found the tiny room in the tower where Sleeping Beauty lay, the prince looked at her in wonder and then kissed her gently. The sleeping princess, opened her eyes and smiled up at the prince. With one look, they fell in love. All around the palace, other people were waking up. The king and queen stirred from their deep sleep and were overjoyed to see their daughter awake. They welcomed the handsome prince who had found their princess. The palace was once again filled with laughter and joy. The king called for a huge wedding feast to be prepared, and he invited everyone in the entire kingdom. Sleeping Beauty married her handsome prince, and they lived happily ever after. The end.
Darn it, I didn't get to see the whole thing.
Well, honey, you have to pay attention when I'm reading the
I
story.
was trying to look for something that I like to chew on.
Oh, okay. It's okay.
Darn it.
It's okay. You see the princess and the prince? He woke her up. He woke up Sleeping Beauty.
Is this one the prince?
That's the princess. See her long hair?
Yeah. He has long hair.
She has long hair.
Yeah.
You ready for bed?
Yeah.
All right. I love you.
Oh, first let me get up.
All right. You got Tiger? Tiger's ready for bed, I think. So that is the end of our bedtime story. You are silly. In our 5-minute stories.
This is her pillow.
That's her pillow. All right.
And this is her own blanket.
All right. Let's see her in it. Let's see her in her bed.
Let's put her in. Put her on like this.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then-
Okay.
then let's
She lays on her pillow.
Look.
Aw, she's so cute. She's ready for bed, are you?
Mm-hmm.
I love you. I love you.
I love you too.
Good night.
Good night. Oh, my tiger also said good night.
Good night, Tiger.